What's going on, everybody? We have an offensive coordinator, and the guys here at Buckeye-Film-Breakdown are here to give our thoughts on it. As always, I'm Jeremy. Middle of the screen, we got Coach Slate. Far side of your screen, we got Jake. Buckeyes go back to the NFL, and Poole Arthur Smith, last known for being A. Rodgers, OC in Pittsburgh. Obviously, do with that as you will. But we wanted to hop on here, give you guys some gut reactions, and let you know how we feel about it. Let's hop into to it with Jake. Being our NFL guy, you've watched a lot of Steelers film over the last 2 years where he was at. What are we getting?
I think he's a guy who it comes from the reputation of heavier personnel. He definitely has preferred to be in the wide zone structure. Um, and more success was found with that with his Titans era than his Falcons stretch, but he's more diverse than that. I don't really so much care about Atlanta. I don't really so much care. I mean, I care more about what Pittsburgh was doing, and they did a really nice job of taking some of their wide receiver personnel and turning them into guys that were willing blockers, inserting them into the line of scrimmage, getting them up into nickel, creating better angles for blocks on nickels, linebackers, whatever. I say, this hire is more a run game hire than a pass game hire, but I think you have to understand Aaron Rodgers didn't want to get hit. Like, he's in his 40s and he had the quickest time to throw. He wanted to constantly have the football out of his hands as quickly as possible. And you can only really run. It was kind of the end of the Brady Tampa Bay era where like these guys are getting rid of the football so fast. Any downfield development stuff is, nullified to an extent. So I think that, you know, to preface this, I've had some people, you tweet your reaction to this and people come at you with their preconceived notions, which is okay. It's fine. But like, I don't think he's sitting down in Columbus with Ryan Day and being like, hey man, it's 13 personnel. Let's talk about this. Like, he knows what he's walking into. He knows the talent that Jeremiah has. He obviously knows what Ennis can do, and he knows what the surrounding guys that have come in can do. They're going to play plenty of 12, just like last year, but they're also going to find a way. If you're somebody worried about creating explosives, he's really good at marrying the run game and pass game in ways from under center and from the pistol that will, I think, work for them. And honestly, with what they were doing, I think we would all agree we didn't have a problem with the structure of what Ohio State was doing last year, probably more so the discussion around the tempo, right?
Hmm?
Because they just needed more plays. So he matches a lot of the ways that Ryan Day's current structure of offense thinks. And I think he can expound upon it with some more of the NFL's ways of applying some different personnel, getting defenses into nickel and dime as often as they can, and then finding ways to get them into still some advantageous run spots out of 11 when they do go that direction. And I think, again, just like a reminder, you don't have to have guys can be close to the line of scrimmage who wear single digits, right? Or 17 or 16 or 11 or 4. You can get those guys because guess what Jeremiah is going to have to do when he gets to the league? There are going to be
Yep.
teams that don't just put him at X and say, hey, man, go run a comeback or go run a post. They're going to ask him to be in tight spots. They're going to ask him to crack down on an edge. They're going to ask him to seal for pin pull blocks. I think this is, listen, is it the most flashy hire they could have made? I don't know, probably not. But as far as the fit for what I think they're trying to accomplish and the personnel they've brought in with the tight ends in the portal, obviously, and some of what we saw last year, which again was clearly an offense that was fine. They just couldn't finish in some spots. I see the fit. I see the vision. This isn't. I wouldn't call this as good as Chip Kelly's fit because the way Chip is unique in his ability to go from different personnel groupings and alignments to get to more of what I think the college world finds successful. But I think it's a good hire. It's a similar thought process to Ryan, but also a good understanding of run game success that I think Ryan needs around him. I think the pass game stuff Ryan can handle. I think it's getting some people in who can think about run game differently is a welcome thing to me.
Yeah, I agree with literally everything you just said. I think Jake hit the nail on the head when it comes to the schematics, when it comes to the coaching side of things. I also think people need to understand, where this guy got his first opportunity to be an offensive coordinator. I think people, instantly think about what he did with the Falcons and they think about this past season with the Steelers, which I'll be honest, like the fact that that Steelers team made it to the playoffs is mind blowing. You know what I mean? And so,
Yeah.
the fact that Mike Vrabel, a Buckeye, a beloved Buckeye, thought that this guy was good enough to be the offensive coordinator of the Tennessee Titans with Ryan Tannehill as the freaking quarterback, that leads me to believe that there was some belief in him that he could get it done. And he obviously parlayed that into being a head football coach for 3 seasons in the NFL. Like, that's not an easy thing to accomplish. The other thing, too, is if you look at his history, look at his quarterbacks that he had in Tennessee and with the Falcons. This guy had Desmond Ritter, Marcus Mariota. His most exciting quarterback that he had in Atlanta was Taylor Heineke, right? For a few games. Like,
Yeah.
this guy has not had that consistent quarterback play. And then he's got Aaron Rodgers at the end of his career. Like, he's coming into a situation where he's got a very young quarterback, but an established quarterback. Like, he knows what he's going to be getting. And Julian Sand is a very good college quarterback. He knows what he's getting with the roster that is already there. Like, there's nothing else that he has to figure out with JJ Smith, with Bo Jackson, with he is truly coming in to enhance what they've already had. Like, I think this is, was it who I thought it was going to be? No. But when I sit down and I look at it in its totality, it just makes too much sense for this type of guy to have been hired. The one thing that people always have been talking about outside of the tempo is that they wish there was better, diversity when it comes to our run game. They wish we could lean on our run game a little bit more. Well, what is he known for doing? Like, that is one thing that I am excited about. What are we going to improve in the red zone in our run game? How are we going to get creative in using our tight ends? I wish that this came out before Max Clare decided to enter the draft. I think this could have been something that, really enticed him to potentially come back. Like, those are things I was thinking about, but I think this is a really good fit. And now we get a true head coach of the offense, and we get Ryan Day to go back to be the CEO, and we get a guy that's only 43 years old. Like, I was hesitant on bringing in somebody who's in his 60s. Like, I'm not, and that's not a knock on older coaches. I love the OGs in the game, but I think the kids relate more, as we saw with Coach Patricia, who just turned 50. Like, they want people who have had NFL success, have been around, Super Bowls, elite talent, and all those type of things, and they can still relate to the players. And Arthur Smith can do all of those things. And so, was it who I thought it was going to be? No, but I can totally see the fit. I think he's coming into a situation where he's just going to enhance what Coach Day has already established.
Yeah.
And I think it's a really good fit. He's going to identify some things maybe in our blocking schemes up front in our
Yeah.
run game that need to be worked on. And everybody's talking about Tyler Bowen. He needs developed. He needs to be better. Well, we've got somebody that's going to be able to help develop him, right? And this is great for Keenan Bailey, who is going to be a future offensive coordinator, to learn underneath somebody who has done it, and it's still a young guy. You know what I mean? I just think there's too many positives that can come from this, and so I think Coach Day did a great job of taking his time and doing whatever he could to get Arthur Smith to commit to being the Buckeyes offensive coordinator, because we know that there were other NFL teams that were still wanting to contact and talk to him about. I think it was Diana Rossini that said that the Eagles and another team were wanting to interview or have conversations about them or Arthur Smith coming to be their offensive coordinator or come, coach for them. And so I think it was a good job by Ryan Day to make sure he got this done.
Yeah, it was the Titans as well.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, so you look at that, and he would have been walking into two situations to where he would have had better quarterback play than he probably ever had at any other point in his tenure in the league. You guys nailed it though. Like we said before we came on here, I think we all share the same sentiments. I got multiple texts tonight. One of them actually said, "This is an awful hire. I can't believe you guys went this way. I think that Ryan Day couldn't get who he wanted and he settled." And I'm like, no, it's about the scheme fit. The run game has been the concern. You go get a guy who is going to develop the run game. The passing side of life, like Jake said, is still going to be the Ryan Day show. It is going to be the Ryan Day scheme intertwined with what Arthur Smith brings from a run game fit. Julian's saying, really good in play action. Well, what makes play action effective? A good run game. So I think there's a lot of overreaction going on tonight in the Ohio State fan base. And very similar to a year ago when Matt Patricia was hired. And, the two schmucks, on the left-hand side of the screen, both were like, pump the brakes. I think it works, and it did. And I'm not saying we're going to come out and score 40 points a game, but I think we can be confident that in those short yardage situations, I think you're going to have better execution. This is a dude that's got 6 years of play calling experience. Brian Hartline had 0. It's already instantly an upgrade. And that's what I think a lot of people don't want to look at, because Ohio State fans are enamored with Brian Hartline and what he did as a recruiter. And that's great. Brian Hartline, great recruiter. Brian Hartline, mediocre play caller. Let's be honest. We'll call a spade a spade. But obviously there are also some concerns. Anytime you make a change and you bring a guy who has been ridiculed this way. So what are some of your guys' concerns about what Arthur Smith brings?
Well, he brings a lot of